Hey, what's up? This is a video that I wanted to do when I had the race car at my place the last time. We are not at my place today. We are at basically what I consider my dad's shop here. We kind of call it the compound. We do have the race car here today. This is our E36 endurance race car. And again, I wanted to make a little video about this car when we had it at my garage here. Some of you already know this car. If not, just gonna kind of go over a little bit about it. Unfortunately, it is broken again, which is why it's here. We're gonna be swapping transmission, got new clutch, and should be back in business. It runs great, however, which is a plus because we've had issues with engines in the past. If you look over here, we just took this engine out. This was the 3-liter stroker engine that we had built for the car. M54 rotating assembly gets it to 3 liters, and we had some M3 cams in it. Cams, everything, all that stuff is good. We can reuse that. I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to reuse the crank, probably the rods. I know at least it needs 1 piston for sure, but those pistons, they didn't really work out too well. Compression ratio was off and it didn't make a lot of power. So hopefully I can reuse the block as well and be able to put another engine in together for this car. If not, I have a complete 2.8 liter bottom end rotating assembly OBD2. That's kind of where we're going to go with this car. So this thing, it's a 95 325i. It's an OBD1 car, and we got this car for, I can't remember, like $300 or something. No title. It did run, but it didn't run well. And over the course of a couple of years, we had built it into a car that was legal for Champ Car. We raced Champ Car for a couple of years. I think we did 3 years with Champ Car, and now we're running with AER. So this car is a really good fit for AER, American Endurance Racing. It's a Class 1 car, which is grouped in the slowest class, but it's really competitive in Class 1. We actually run up front a lot. Most of some of our better races, we've been fighting for first and second. We've qualified well up front. So the car is really capable, but the problem is just keeping it going. So we got a lot of neat kind of trick stuff in it, but it's super low buck as well. So we don't have a lot of money to throw at this thing a lot, but what we can do with it works pretty well. And you know, every race we kind of chip away at something, make something better. Maybe we find a weak spot or something. But this is a 2.5 liter M50. I had this engine in the car about, man, when did we put this in? Probably 2 years ago, I think it was in. Ran well, ran a couple races in it. It has a lot of miles on it. It's a little low on compression. We had an issue with it at Summit last year when we broke the other transmission, and we pulled this engine out to put the 3-liter in, took it to New Jersey, blew the 3-liter up. So I was able to get this thing back together. We got a fresh cylinder head on it, decked the head, cleaned up the block, Super Tech valve springs, valve train, everything up top in the cylinder head, because we've had some issues with some valve springs, some drop valves. So wanted to get that all dialed in. So we did put new rod bearings in it, bunch of new gaskets, cleaned it up real nice. And then we sent it over to Castle Performance in York for a custom dyno tune. And that was probably one of the best things that we had done. We had an off-the-shelf performance chip in this car, and from what I saw in the first dyno session, it was it worked, but it didn't work great. And what we ended up getting from Castle was a tune that's custom tailored to this particular engine, this particular vehicle. We actually picked up about 20 horsepower or so, cleaned up the fuel map really well, because we've had some issues where the car only run about an hour and 15 on fuel, which really it should be able to do at least an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes on fuel. So we haven't been able to get a full fuel test on it to see how we're doing there, but I think it's going to work pretty good. We do have, this is probably one of the nicer things on the car, we do have a set of ISC coilovers. They're 32-way adjustable coilovers on dampening, and they have, obviously they have ride height adjustability, but what's also nice about it, you can set the preload on the springs, and if you need to change the ride height, the actual strut moves into a sleeve that's down on the spindle. So you don't have to change the spring preload at all. You just change the ride height of the vehicle. And that's really the best way to set up a car when you're trying to, get the most out of the suspension here. Anytime you aren't able to adjust the coilover inside the strut, so if you were trying to make it lower, you would have to crank the spring up, and you're changing the spring preload, and then things get all wacky. So really cool setup there. They work really well. Got big aluminum radiator, 3-core radiator when you're doing endurance races when it's really hot out. We've had some issues with temperatures in this car. Even with that radiator, we're still a little warm. I'm gonna replace this fan shroud here. We're gonna put a big puller fan where that fan shroud is now, take care of that issue as well. But otherwise, this engine is pretty much stock. Like I said, it makes about 200 horsepower, maybe a little more. It was like 175 at the wheels. So it's not real fast, but it's more about, momentum. We got good suspension. We have urethane bushings all around this car. Condor Motorsports urethane bushings, or Delrin, whatever they're using in the subframe. We have urethane bushings in the trailing arms, bushings in the front control arms, and in all the sway bars, polyurethane bushings in the sway bars. Bigger bar up here, it's like a 26mm bar. We do have M3 end links, which moves the end link from the control arm up onto the strut. And when you do that, you actually gain a little bit of leverage, a little bit of force. It makes a smaller bar act like a bigger one. So it's almost like we got a performance bar, even though this is a stock size E36 bar. D-Force wheels, we have 2 sets of wheels. We have these, and we run a Apex ARC 8s. Brakes were all stock. We use Power Stop calipers because they're cheap. They're rebuilt when we get them, and we just swap them out every couple seasons. We run PFC pads. It's our preferred pad. They're pretty much doesn't really matter what flavor. We've had good luck with all of them. And then we run primarily a Hankook RS4 tires, but we've run Yokohamas, which are fantastic, but they just don't last. We've tried Dunlops. Again, they just don't seem to last an entire weekend. We can usually get, well, we can definitely get an entire weekend out of 6 tires, 6 new tires, and then we rotate. We put a U set in the rear. But the car runs really good and consistent on the Hankooks, so that's what we stick with. A little bit of aero on this car. I can't really say if it does make a difference or not, but it does make the car look pretty cool. So style points. Inside, we got a good roll cage here, NASCAR bars and everything. No containment seat, but this seat is going to be coming out of date this year, so we're going to get another seat. This shifter is really cool. We call it the Lithuanian hammer because we found it from a guy who makes them, sells them from Lithuania. So it's been really good. It's been pretty much bulletproof. A little hard sometimes to jab it into gear, especially on a downshift, but that's because I do have it in the most aggressive, most short setting, so that's probably my fault. But otherwise, yeah, we do run a cool suit for when it gets hot. The cool suit, the box will go over there. I just don't have the box in now. Everything's pretty much out of the car because we had swapped it for the Miata that we raced at Summit Point after the car had its unfortunate demise. So we'll fire it up here though. I can get it running. It does run. So that's pretty much it. You know, I'm happy to have it back here and be able to get working on it. So I'll be back here probably about a week from now, and we'll be swapping the transmission, the clutch, and hopefully be driving this thing very soon. So I will post another update there as soon as that work gets underway. We'll be back here working at the compound here and getting this thing all sorted. So until then, just check back, and like I said, I'll update. I'll let you know when it's back on the road and when we're gonna go racing again. So stick around.